Steve Howe, brought to you by the United States Army Reserve, and I'm Allison Steele, the Night Bird. That's Steve Howe, and the cut is Beginnings from his album, and it's very appropriately titled. Steve's album, Beginnings, marked the beginning of a whole new era for the members of Yes, and I'm really thrilled to have Steve sitting in the studio with me today. Steve, you were the first of the solo albums. Did that make you nervous about it more than usual?
Not especially. I found once I'd finished it, I think I was more apprehensive while I was making it about finishing it. You know, I think when I knew it was going to come out, it was out of my hands then. So I thought they'll do what they'll do with it. You know.
I remember last summer when you were here, and everybody, you know, I talked to you about it, and everybody was doing an individual album. Everybody was working like little beavers on their own.
Right.
And you came in first. Was that something that just happened that way?
Well, based on the fact that I started first. When we finished the winter tour, we did, what year was it now? 74. We came back, and a lot of the guys, a few of the guys were on holiday and things. I just, about 3 weeks into January, started working on it.
When you were doing the album, did you? Well, I have a picture, for instance, of you working on it and going and saying, John, come over, listen to this. How does this sound to you? Or, Chris, what do you think of this? Did that work? Did you do that? Or
I had the same sort of premonition as you, really. I imagined that would happen.
But it didn't.
And it didn't happen quite to the same extent, but mainly not with the two people you've mentioned, as much as because Alan and Patrick were playing on the record, they were sort of available, and I sort of kind of cornered them and said, come on, get into this with me. And Patrick, to a lesser extent, on a sort of day-to-day working thing, but for the first month or two, Alan was around a lot. So he, you know, it was easy to ask him things.
Patrick is hard to nail down at any time, isn't he?
Yeah, but he did jump on a plane occasionally and come across, do things. But I really got quite a lot out of John anyway before I started it, because he knew all the songs anyway. And, or most of them, except for the couple of new ones that were on it. So it was sort of, it was easy to talk to John initially about it. And with Chris starting at the same time, you know, he was, you know, one part of the country and I was another. I was totally in London, he was sort of totally at home. So all the time in between the tours, Chris and I were both working and simultaneously. So
suppose all 5 albums are out. Let's still projecting them as a hypothetical or a mythical situation. Hopefully mythical.
Right, it's
all right. One album out of the 5 becomes a huge hit, number 1 album.
Yeah.
And the rest of them are okay.
Yeah.
What do you think that might do to the interaction of the group?
Well, it'll be very interesting because I think, you know, it'll be more of a test for that person to see, you know, to make sure they'll have to look at themselves and say, am I still doing as much for Yes as I like to and should do, and things like that. On a sort of, it might hit their ego and they might think, wow, you know, this record's really gone. But good luck to them, really. I mean, obviously, when you make a record, you consider it's for everybody. You don't consider that it's going to be torn apart by critics, which usually happens with all our records. So, you know, you're in a different sort of zone. As I say, when you finish it, you give it to them, you say, you know, you've fed it to the fish, if you like. And so from then on, I think, good luck, you know, I'd be thrilled if any of the albums, I feel it would respond very well back to Yes. It would be very good for the individual.
Would you be envious?
Well, not completely envious, because I feel my record did what it set out to do. But sure, I would have been happy for it to have gone top 10. But because it's still in the chart, and that for me is good enough. You know, I mean, it's gone halfway there.
And it still might go the other half. You know, there's always that possibility.
Sure.
I want to take a moment here, or half a mo, for some words from Army Reserve. You know, in just a few months, the Army Reserve can teach you a skill, pay you a salary, and send you home. Here's how it works. You go away for a few weeks of basic, followed by a few months of job training at full Army pay. Now you take off for home with a brand new skill. You'll be sharpening that skill 1 weekend a month with the Army Reserve, and earning some extra money, too. Now, not every unit can offer you every job, but the job you want may be open right now in the Army Reserve. This is the Night Bird, Allison Steele for the United States Army Reserve, and our guest today is Steve Howe. Steve Howe, Yes member, not former Yes member, but current Yes member and future Yes member as far as we're all concerned. Now, you've been with Yes now for, you came with Fragile.
No, Yes album. I think it's...
Yes album, right, the third one.
4.5, 5 years or something.
Now, you've been on a lot of concert tours. in your estimation, what is the most important thing that Yes has ever done? When I say important, I mean in terms of music, you know.
What, you mean recording, are you asking? Recording? Yeah. I think in some ways Close to the Edge was sort of a good standpoint. It was a sort of, it was a new experience for us to make a record that we'd actually captured the 20-minute sort of epic, if you like. So I'd sort of put that one forward as a...
I would say Close to the Edge is probably the most requested of anything Yes has ever done. You know, well, it's I played, a matter of fact, Friday night, played the entire thing as a treat, and I must have had 20 people call me say thank you.
Good.
Because it's that impressive, you know.
Possibly I picked out the right one, I don't know.
See, I think Yes is now in the same spot that the Moody Blues have put themselves in, and the only reason that I make that analogy is because of the excellence of the two groups. But the Moody's were boxed into a corner of constantly topping themselves, and so is Yes. Do you think that the group can keep up that escalation of output?
Yeah, I don't see any reason why, when we've achieved the things we set out to this year, I mean, rather last year, if you like, by keeping the Yes schedule going, doing the quite extensive American tour we did last year, which was a hell of a lot of fun, and then getting into the records, I think we've all learned a great deal, and in fact I think it's washing off as we get together to cut this new album. I think some of the different minglings that we've wanted have happened. In some ways we've kind of, shred a shell, if you like. We've sort of taken off...
I beg your pardon?
we've sort of taken off an outer barrier, if you
I won't even attempt that one. Steve, one of the questions that I've always wanted to ask, and even though last year I spent a lot of time talking to all the members of Yes, I don't remember talking about this particular thing. Can you describe to me, you know, in 20 words or less, that kind of thing, what happens when Yes sits down to create an idea? What does it sound like? I mean, is it John calls a meeting, and you say, I've got an idea, and Steve says...
Well, no, we do things in blocks. We sort of say, we're going to rehearse, so we go and rehearse. We attempt to do nothing else, but usually we have a few meetings thrown in as well. But I mean, rehearsal to us is a very informal, sort of, if you like, casual sort of experience, where we don't mark up the achievements for a long time. We don't try and see what we're doing for some time. We just sort of do things, and that means play each other's songs. That means play ideas that are only that idea, if you like, just a lick, a tune, melody, or it can be a song that you've played on a demo. So you can exchange these ideas, you know, all those different ways, if you like. And the demo is sometimes the one we use. You know, we play a song we've done at home of our own, and it gets integrated into a song. Quite often we do actually sort of compose in the rehearsal room. We get ideas there. Because we're together, because the energies get pushed into the centre, if you like.
All right, can you remember how Close to the Edge was born?
Obviously, that was not an exception to any rules, but the only other method I didn't bring up was the fact that, you know, if two members prepare a song, obviously it has certain advantages, other disadvantages occasionally, but usually advantages in the context it can be presented to the other members, and it gets a good kick-off. So John and I did exchange ideas about that in hotel rooms and things. It was one of the sort of a hotel room song, and so we sort of presented it to the group, not as is now in any terms at all. The choruses, the main parts of it, and then the musical structure was the arrangement, and that was done by all of us together. So, you know, that's how it is, or how it can be.
It sure is marvelous. That's how it is. Our guest today has been Steve Howe, and this is Alison Steele, the Nightbird, reminding you that in the Army Reserve, part of what you earn is pride.